It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at. Only the educated are free. Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and in one word, whatever are not our actions. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourselves. People are not disturbed by things but by the views they take of them. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." Any person capable of angering you becomes your master. He can anger you only when you permit yourself to be disturbed by him. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. To accuse others for one's own misfortune is a sign of want of education. To accuse oneself shows that one's education has begun. To accuse neither oneself nor others shows that one's education is complete. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power or our will. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. If you would be a reader, read. If a writer, write. God has entrusted me with myself. No man is free who is not master of himself. A man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. The world turns aside to let any man pass who knows where he is going. Remember, it is not enough to be hit or insulted to be harmed. You must believe that you are being harmed. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation, which is why it is essential that we not respond impulsively to impressions. Take a moment before reacting, and you will find it easier to maintain control. A ship should not ride on a single anchor, nor life on a single hope. Demand not that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and you will go on well. Remember that you ought to behave in life as you would at a banquet. As something is being passed around, it comes to you. Stretch out your hand. Take a portion of it politely. It passes on. Do not detain it. Or it has not come to you yet. Do not project your desire to meet it, but wait until it comes in front of you. So act toward children, so toward a wife, so toward office, so toward wealth. Events do not just happen, but arrive by appointment. Either God wants to abolish evil and cannot, or he can, but does not want to. It is unrealistic to expect people to see you as you see yourself. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Think constantly on the changes of the elements into each other, for such thoughts wash away the dust of earthly life. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. If any man despises me, that is his problem. My only concern is not doing or saying anything deserving of contempt. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. Sometimes even to live is an act of courage. Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men. Enjoy present pleasures in such a way as not to injure future ones. They lose the day in expectation of the night, and the night in fear of the dawn. It is not that we have so little time, but that we lose so much. The life we receive is not short, but we make it so. We are not ill-provided, but use what we have wastefully. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. All cruelty springs from weakness. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Withdraw into yourself as far as you can. Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. He who spares the wicked injures the good. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver or doer. People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Framework for how to view the world, other people, and our place within it. A set of ethics which guide our thoughts and actions towards strength of character. Many people are attracted to the philosophy because of point 1. The Stoic framework builds emotional resilience and peace of mind, which makes it attractive to many of us. An effective framework for our well-being is also something that's becoming more and more difficult to find as the world gets more and more complex. However, after some study of the philosophy, many people get drawn deeper into its teaching and find another layer of value in its ethics. Stoicism is a philosophy that began in ancient Greece around 300 BC, created by a man called Zeno of Citium. Zeno and his followers gathered in Athens to discuss, debate, and find answers for how to live a good and happy life. From these questions, they created a set of instructions for how to live. The main ideas behind Stoicism are: we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we react to these events. When we act with virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, we get closer to a good character and a happy life. Think of it as being the captain of your ship in a stormy sea. You can't control the weather, but you can steer your ship. One of the biggest ideas in Stoicism is focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't. For example, you can't control what other people think of you, but you can control how hard you work in school or how kind you are to others. This idea helps us accept things that happen around us and prevent them from causing us needless suffering. This idea is called the dichotomy of control. You can read more about it here. It's not what happens, but how you react. Stoics believe that it's not the events themselves that upset us, but our opinions about these events. For example, if you miss the bus, you can choose to be upset, or you can see it as an opportunity to enjoy a walk. If we're stuck in a bad mood because of the bus, we're worrying about something we cannot control. However, we can control our thoughts and actions, so we can choose to move on and look for a silver lining. This doesn't mean you have to go live in the woods. When the Stoics say nature, they mean that you should live in harmony with your true nature as a rational and social human being. This involves being honest, fair, and working for the good of everyone. Virtue is the highest good in Stoicism. Acting with virtue is the highest good. They believe virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline are the keys to living a good life. You can learn more about virtue here. How can Stoicism help you? Stress reduction. Stoicism teaches you not to worry about things outside your control. This can really help reduce stress and anxiety. If we choose to accept the things that have already happened and cannot change, we stop ourselves from getting stuck in negative emotions. Similarly, if we choose to act with virtue, we are more likely to avoid the stress that comes from bad behavior. This can be things like guilt, shame, regret, anger, frustration, or disgust. Better relationships. When you focus on being kind and fair, as Stoicism suggests, your relationships with friends and family can improve. You can be more compassionate, more understanding, and less likely to put yourself before others. All of these things can help us grow closer to other people and help us support the people around us when they need it. Resilience. Stoicism builds mental toughness. It helps you deal with challenges and bounce back from tough times. For example, when we find ourselves in a difficult situation, we can use the dichotomy of control to quickly decide what we can control and what we can't. This means we can focus our energy more efficiently to solve the problem instead of worrying about what to do. Marcus Aurelius. He was a Roman emperor and a Stoic philosopher. His book, Meditations, is full of wisdom about how to live a good life. You can learn more about him here. Seneca was a Roman statesman and writer. He wrote a lot about how to deal with anger and hardship. You can learn more about him here. Epictetus. A former slave turned philosopher, Epictetus taught that our reactions to events are more important than the events themselves. Hedonism and Stoicism are two philosophical schools of thought that offer completely different perspectives on life, happiness, and the pursuit of a fulfilled life. Stoicism is reasonably well known and presents a clear path to happiness through virtue and logic. Hedonism, however, is often misunderstood as unrelentingly pursuing pleasure above all else in an effort to find happiness. Today we're going to cover a summary of hedonism, a summary of Stoicism, the similarities and differences, how we can use these philosophies to better our own lives. Hedonism is the belief that pleasure and the avoidance of pain are the most important principles that drive the pursuit of a good and happy life, morality, and human behavior. These pleasures can include sex, video games, drugs, and food, but they can also include listening to good music, spending time with loved ones, or reading. It's not so much about what we do, but more about what we should do. Avoid pain and pursue pleasure. Hedonism covers a lot of different schools of philosophy. However, we're going to focus on the teachings of Epicurus from ancient Greece, who argues that life's primary aim should be to maximize positive feelings, or pleasure, and minimize pain. Sounds pretty good, right? But while many people see hedonism as a relentless pursuit of bodily pleasures at the expense of everything else, Epicurean hedonism is actually not as animalistic or as crude as that. Epicurean hedonism values simple and moderate pleasures as well as the avoidance of pain. He believed that more pleasure is not always better in the short term if it leads to less pleasure in the long term. Therefore, we should look for a modest and sustainable kind of pleasure. This comes from two things: